Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorting Hat Podcast, the show where everything and anything can and will be sorted. I, as always, am your host, Michael Barryte, joined not by Reed Bryce, as is my usual co-host, but actually a guest host, Ryan Finnerty, from our very early on in our podcast history, episodes 3 and 4. He's joining us.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
And the basic conceit of the show is we have a guest who is very knowledgeable, a fan, or an expert on a topic, which we will then be sorting into the various houses of Hogwarts, and we are joined by Jared Rosen.
Hey.
Jared Rosen is the senior creative producer over at Riot Games.
I'm a senior creative producer.
You're a senior. Okay, not the.
Although comicbooks.com called me the senior creative producer of all of Riot based on like a 1-minute ad for a toy that we put out.
Great.
And that was for a week. That was a really good troll move for the company.
Wonderful. You're also a writer on Dream Daddy, a daddy dating simulator, which is out on Steam now and doing very, very well.
Yes.
And you're currently working as a writer for the upcoming game, The Tingler.
Yes.
Which we were discussing off mic, and man, that's a whole rabbit hole to go down.
Sort those.
Yeah, I mean, you're an esteemed writer. You've got a great sense of horror and humor and wit to you. We're glad to have you.
Wow. Oh,
We're glad to
the
have
warms,
you on the
feels.
program.
Ooh.
You are a Ravenclaw. I am a Ravenclaw. Ryan is a Slytherin.
This doesn't seem fair.
That's just the
Yeah,
way
it's
it's
just the way it
sorted.
works.
We got less airtime in the books, though, so
Right.
it's fine.
That's a good point.
And we are going to be sorting Apocrypha. And
Love Apocrypha.
yeah, so for those unfamiliar, the very loose definition that Jared can probably give better than me, but I'm the one who's currently talking, so I'm going to give it.
Yeah.
Is the dubious sourced religious texts that may or may not be credible and are not necessarily accepted by the church, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever religious sect.
So would this be like fan fiction?
Yeah, well, imagine like you have a group of religious writers, because at the time that the Bible was written, it was a lot of tribes of Jews specifically running around the desert, and all of the tribes had their own beliefs and religious stuff. And then as agriculture began to take hold within the desert and people kind of coalesced into cities, they had all these different competing ideas, and they put them all together, and then that became the Bible. And there's like the extra stuff that was like really weird, and they're like, maybe not the like the floating spheres with like a million eyes, like keep those out of there, but they're really cool. So they're just Apocrypha now. They're like, oh yeah, you can read about the choirs of angels, but they're not really talked about.
Should we start with that floating sphere with many eyes?
The thrones? I love the thrones. They're cool.
All right, tell us about the thrones.
Yeah, so in the Catholic faith, although this still extends back into like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Talmud and stuff, it all goes back to the Kabbalic texts. All of it, all of the Judeo-Christian stuff, all the weird shit goes back to the Kabbalic text. Can I curse? Is that fine?
Yes.
Great. All that weird shit. So the angels are broken into choirs, and there's the principalities, there's the thrones, there's the cherubim, there's like the regular angels down at the bottom, and they all are there's the regular angels, and they're like pretty normal. There's like it's a lady, she has wings, maybe you can see her boobs, I don't really know. Every human gets one, which is weird.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then it starts getting like really weird. Like one of them is shaped like a flaming wheel. There's another one that's a sphere that has a million eyes. There's another one that's just like fire. Like it's just pure fire. It's like they're like geometric shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how they break it down.
So there's a hierarchy of angels.
Yeah.
That our Judeo-Christian perception of an angel is like the base model.
Yeah. The one that you see in like bas reliefs and paintings and stuff, that's like the lowest level of angel.
And then the higher you go, is the pure fire the highest, hopefully?
Yeah, well, the higher you go, the weirder they get. Because, like, the next one up is, like, all right, like, the angels with the flaming swords. Like, they're like the next one up.
That doesn't seem that weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
They've just armed themselves.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it is flaming sword.
Then you start going up to, like, the cherubim, which are, like, they have 2 heads, and they have weird, like, bird bodies and 6 wings. And then you go up more than that, and then the thrones are like the circle guys. And then you go up more than that, and you start seeing things that are legitimately like wagon wheels
Okay.
and geometric shapes that are on fire. You're like, all right, well, that's...
And so these are written texts?
These are written texts.
Okay, so it wasn't just like we found cave paintings and
No,
it was like, there was a wheel in a sky.
And we just got it wrong?
No, it's I forget the dude who wrote this all down, but it was a guy who was pretty high up in the faith, and he wrote it all down a long time ago, and then the texts were lost and they were found again, and people looked at them and were like, no, this goes right into like the garbage bin with all the other weird stuff. Well, I say all the other weird stuff.
A lot of weird stuff made it through.
Well, in Leviticus.
There's some
literally
stuff.
all of Leviticus. There's a dragon. There's like a dragon in Leviticus.
Wait, really? I don't recall that.
Sorry, Revelations, not Leviticus. I lied. It's all Revelations. All Revelations is weird, not Leviticus. There's a dragon in Revelations. Like just straight up a dragon.
That's an exciting reality.
Another part of the Bible has like a unicorn in it. There's a unicorn in the Bible. It's supposed to be an ibex. It's just like another word for, like when they translated it into the King James Version, ibex translates loosely into unicorn. But that doesn't change the fact that in the King James Bible, it refers to unicorns. So,
all right.
I know a lot.
A lot going on here.
I know. So, okay, so I guess we're going to term this like the hierarchy of angels. As like,
all right, let me look it up because I know like half of them off the top of my head.
Well, we don't need to necessarily sort each one individually. We could sort
just the hierarchy of angels.
This entire text, which is sort of breaking it down.
Let's do it. All right,
okay,
hierarchy of angels.
I mean, it.
Oh, sorry, real quick.
Yeah,
and I just because I need to know for my own personal stuff. What's the highest? Is that the flames?
The highest, I believe, is the Seraphinium, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Cool.
What's that?
Seraphinium is like I believe their job is, and they're described kind of like as these things that sort of exist in a state of quantum flux. By the way, this was written like a gajillion years ago.
Right.
So they're these things that float around God's head, telling God how awesome he is forever. And that's their entire job.
That seems...
So they're hype men angels.
Yeah, they're like yes men. They're Hollywood parasites.
And that's the highest you can go.
But they have a quantum quality that because God is everywhere, they also
are everywhere. And they're floating around his head specifically.
Right.
Which is everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. This is the same look. The same text, so same rough text, I'm pretty sure. There's the hierarchy of angels, and then this is where they also discuss Metatron.
The
Metatron
Transformer.
being a being of equal or greater power to God who is female and is mentioned like twice.
And this is also in Judeo-Christian.
Yes.
Kabbalic. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh my goodness.
Metatron also shows up a lot in the Silent Hill games, so there you go.
Great.
Which is like to be heard from later in Silent Hill.
Yeah, to be heard from later in Silent Hill 3.
Yeah, of course.
Right. I mean, we do
Metatron
know,
as seen in Silent Hill 3.
Yep.
probably more prominently.
It's all the save points. The seal of Metatron.
All right. So, oh man, you told me you knew a lot, and I.
You doubted it somehow.
I didn't, but
you didn't, but you wanted to deep down inside.
Yeah.
I got to make those deep cut religious references whenever I'm writing.
But now we have to unpack some form of this and sort it into the houses.
Yeah.
I mean, if we simply look at this as like a long-standing list, it obviously has like very clear defining factors to each, which would perhaps skew it into Ravenclaw, as Ravenclaw is like very categorical in the way that they will approach things.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, outside of the fact that some of the angels are insane.
Yeah.
I don't
principalities. Principalities.
I don't see it being like a Hufflepuff sort of thing, because there doesn't see it.
They're not chill. It's not a chill list.
Exactly.
This list has zero chill.
Okay. But are the basic, because everyone, the basic, like if I'm just, if I'm me and you're just the first time you're told, everyone has their own angel, and like it kind of looks like a human, and maybe you see their breasts. That seems chill.
That's pretty chill.
Like here's the thing, and this is just because I don't know, for my edification. If there's a lot of, I'm imagining there's more basic angels than other people, right? Like than these other angels. It's not like there's the same amount of high-end angels and wagon wheel angels and shit like that?
It does not say.
So, but I'm
are.
even better. It helps my argument.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that. So I mean, it seems most
except
of
for
it,
the principalities, because there's one for every country.
Are there more people than countries?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So it seems mostly really basic. This whole idea of like a hand-holding angel seems super Hufflepuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
The hand-holding angel, like base level angel, would be Hufflepuff, but I think like the list itself.
I get that, but I'm saying, and then my argument's real dumb, but it's a scenario of like, if the majority of a thing is a thing, and like more of it is this hand-holding shit.
You're looking at it as a pie chart,
exactly.
Rather than
and if most of it,
look at all the tabs.
And like, look, if I'm the person and I'm living, and you're like, oh, what do I think of as angels? I don't see this thing flying around God's head. I don't see other stuff.
You're taking the Judeo. You're siding with the church on this one.
I generally side with the church.
Wow, I didn't realize you were going to be this deep today.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Really uncomfortable now.
Now that
a representative of the church is here.
As the Sorting Hat podcast.
They send me to all the small podcasts everywhere, or large, and all the Harry Potter podcasts. My job is as a secret agent to come in and destroy.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it is Hufflepuff, but there's a lot there.
That's valid. That's valid, and we don't need to necessarily land on like de facto. This is that. There's the stamp.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. So there are angels that are linked to countries.
Yes.
So when the Ottoman Empire fell, what happened?
Are they out of work?
I don't know. It doesn't really say.
Because that's a big that was the question I'd actually be worried about. If like you're linked to one country, then it changes its name or something else happens.
That seems like some sort of failed sitcom pilot like, oh man, that one angel, like his country was evaporated, so now he's just roaming about,
hanging out,
trying to find his own.
Buys a motorcycle, starts online dating. You're like, what have you? You haven't shaved in a while, man?
He doesn't have to anymore.
Burma's having a real bad time.
But then he's also a transdimensional being.
Yeah, he's a transdimensional being with unlimited powers. So.
But if you have no purpose, you have no purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you sign up for OkCupid.
Right.
Yeah.
That's I think most of their customers. Transdimensional beings with no purpose.
So okay, we've somewhat sorted that. What do we have next?
What do we have next? Oh man, do we want to go straight into the Goetians?
Yes, because that
King
sounds
Solomon's ring.
Okay, so we're still in Judeo-Christian Kabbalic sort of realm.
Ish. Yeah, well, the Goetians is a list of quasi-biblical demons.
Okay, so
purportedly controlled and summoned by King Solomon of the Jews.
So wise King Solomon is
demons.
in control of a bunch of demons,
Well,
presumably.
so King Solomon had a magic ring.
Okay.
And he used the ring to summon a bunch of different demons. And the demons are all cataloged in a text called the Goetians.
Okay, so this is another listicle of
It's another list. This is like BuzzFeed before BuzzFeed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's prehistory BuzzFeed.
Mm-hmm. And there were a bunch of scrolls that you could tick
you
the
won't
box.
believe the top 10 Goetians.
So, all right, tell us about the Goetians.
Well, the Goetians are listed in terms of like their power within hell and what they do. So they're like, it's a demon prince of hell, a demon king of hell, a demon general of hell, and a lot of them are stack ranked based on like the amount of like the amount of demons they control. So he controls 14 scores of Blar controls 14 scores of demon soldiers.
Was that an example of a name or
that
an
is
actual
that is an actual one? Blar is an actual one.
Blar?
Yeah, which also appears as a enemy in the Ifrit cave in Final Fantasy VIII right at the beginning.
I like how we're 2 for 2 on that.
Yeah.
Like bam to a video game later. Great.
Oh yeah, no. If you want,
they all show up in a video game.
Yeah,
sometime.
no. Japanese video games basically are filled with weird Judeo-Christian references. Japanese love that shit. It's amazing to them. Kind of like how we kind of pervert a lot of Asian religious stuff for our games. They are like, what Catholicism is fucking weird. Put it in. Put it in there.
Okay, so
yeah.
So you've got
So there's Blar. There's the one from Lovely Molly, the horse guy. Oh geez, I love him too. Can't remember his name right now. There's a fucking million of them. I wish I had the list on me. You know what? I have a computer phone.
Yeah.
Just look it up on my computer
Use
phone.
the computer
Take a moment.
phone.
Use the
Yeah.
computer phone. And if you could actually give us like a little bit about each one, because I don't.
Oh, sure. Oh, man, my favorite. Okay, the Goetians. It literally came up instantly.
You look it up a lot.
I do.
Nice.
Here we go. Oh, and they're actually stack ranked into like kings, princes. This is fantastic. So you got Baal, everyone's favorite Baal. He's the head of the infernal powers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good name.
Paimon, one of the kings of hell, more obedient to Lucifer than the other kings are. It says that. Beleth, a mighty and terrible king of hell who has 85 legions of demons. He's good person, but it's a U, so it's not person.
It's not just a guy who's named Person and tired of being called Person. He's like, no, it's Person.
It's person.
It is
it's French.
Person. Yeah, it's French. They're, like,
Thank
they're
you.
from fucking Nebraska, Person.
Yeah. So it's person? No, it's person.
Yeah,
like
it's
if he
person.
orders a latte, they just call him person. Asmodai, which is just Asmodeus, but with a funner name. Vine or Vine.
Mm-hmm.
Balaam, Zagan,
What are some of their deals?
Amdusius, which is a great name.
Are they just like different generals within the ranks?
Well,
or?
so they all look different, and they're actually all drawn. So like Amdusius, which is a great name. He's like a human with claws instead of hands and feet. He has the head of a unicorn and a trumpet. He's associated with thunder and storms. So a lot of these demons, they have like their own like thing. They have like the thing they're best at, how they interact with people. And this is a thing that you can also find in books that are written today about like shrine worship, which is like a more like hippy dippy sort of a thing. If you're into invocations, you were looking at me like I just opened the world up in front of you.
You really have.
So are you into invocations?
No, but I love reading about them. So the art of invocation, not to like get off topic,
But we should a little bit.
Yeah.
So the art of invocation, it's like shrine worship for like sad moms who just got into Wicca. Not to like shit on
Sad moms.
invocating if you're like into that, but also it's kind of dumb. So that's like it's looking at any biblical or mythical or legendary like entity or figure, creating a shrine that like is in devotion to that particular figure and trying to invoke their name so that you receive the benefits roughly or loosely associated with them. So it'll be like Thor, and it'll be like Thor is like brave and also has other stuff. So if you invocate his name and he shines his favor upon you, then you get to be like a little bit more brave or a little bit more strong in a personal situation that you're having problems with, and maybe have less wine at the soccer game.
It's very akin to just like life affirmation.
Yeah,
self-help.
You
self-help.
You say in the mirror, and you're just like, I am strong, I am strong, I am strong. You do your power poses in the morning, and you walk out. And you
But
feel
instead
like
of hot yoga, you're like invoking the name of Thor and burning shit on your desk.
Which seems a little bit cooler.
Yeah, it's more heavy metal.
Right, yeah. If you're a sad mom and you don't want to do hot yoga or you have like agoraphobia or something, this is kind of cool.
Oh, it's way more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Belial is another demon from the demon.
What's his deal?
Belial?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the Prince of Lies.
See, he seems
great.
important.
He's important. The kings are all important.
Yeah, but that one seems, I mean, lies have kind of carried over.
Well, Belial also makes an appearance in Diablo 3. So
boom, we're now 3 for 3.
Boom, 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Well, Baal's in Diablo 2.
4 for 4.
He's the all of these guys are also in like the Shin Megami Tensei games. They're literally all in there.
And a lot of them are referenced in Binding of Isaac. And
is that how you
those
got
guys.
into them? Was it a situation you're like the games first and then got into it?
Yeah, it's funny because so my grandfather lived in southern Italy pre-Mussolini. Like as Mussolini's rise to power was happening, he was like a little kid in southern Italy, and they lived in a farming community way far away from everything else because southern Italy is extremely poor compared to the rest of Italy. So there's like no towns. They had to walk through the woods to get places. And he's like, oh, I have tons of ghost stories. I'm like, all right, tell me ghost stories. And I'm a little child now, and he's, in his 60s at this point. So he would tell me about like seeing ghosts in the woods and like there's monsters and here's all of the like the weird Christian Apocrypha that we talk about in these little Italian towns in the middle of nowhere in the woods. And like how they fuel the imagination. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I was reading like The Hobbit and books about dragons. So I was like slowly getting into like European folklore as I was growing up. Then I got introduced to the world of like JRPGs, which like really heavily reference all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, well now I'm going to go like read it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did.
You did the deep dive.
I did the deep dive. I went deep dive, and that was the end of that. that was that.
With the Goetti,
Yeah,
as like a holistic list, because I feel like that is the easiest way to sort, and also we try not to sort characters or people.
Yeah.
As a list, considering that a lot of them are like ranked officials, and there's a bit of classism going on.
Yes,
and also some aggression. I think this is definitely an either Slytherin or Gryffindor camp. Probably leaning more heavily on Slytherin
because of the hell stuff.
Not because of the hell stuff.
The demonic hell stuff.
Not because of the hell stuff. No, but because there's like a purity sense that comes with Slytherin, and also
I will
rank
note
and
this
file.
about this list. All of the demons come with like a little like, you know, don't wash this way tag, or if you summon them and then don't use their powers correctly, or you're like not like of strong will, then they do some like heinous shit.
They're all monkey paws.
They're
basically.
all monkey paws. Yeah. Well, Oribos is the one that I was trying to refer to before, the one from Lovely Molly, which if you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie. It's about a lady slowly going crazy. But Oribos is one of my favorites from the Ars Goetia because, or Goetia, I don't even know how to say the name, but it doesn't really matter. Because it's like this horse-headed man bat thing.
Great.
But its job is giving you like esoteric, forbidden knowledge, like things that you don't want to know. And in exchange, it takes a piece of what makes you human, but that part isn't told to you.
Oh, shit.
So like the whole crux of Lovely Molly, if you haven't seen the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it too much, is there's this lady who's suffering from, like, her father just died, and she's suffering from what appears to be PTSD from an unknown event that happened in her past. Her husband is actively cheating on her, and her sister like doesn't like her very much.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to her dad's old house, and all of the pictures in her old bedroom, all of the heads on all of the portraits have been replaced by horse heads. She doesn't know why. And as she stays in the house over time, she starts getting more like bestial, but she's also like somehow, without discovering it, like objects in the house or like talking to people, is like learning what's going on in both in her past and with the people around her.
So the truth and the lies in her life is being revealed.
Yeah, it's being revealed to her, and you're not really sure how, but it's making her like actively crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's turning her more into a beast.
Yeah, it's turning her more into like a monster. Yeah, it's a pretty great movie.
That's awesome.
That said,
yeah,
where do we feel? Like, do we feel Slytherin, or are we thinking more Gryffindor?
I know, Mr. Slytherin. What do you think?
Okay. I actually would take this one for our house, because it's like the cool part I like that there's a purity to it. I also really like the favor part. That was the part that really stuck out to me as like one, because it's interesting when you're kings, you're like, oh man, I always forget about that, because it's tough to get higher than a king, right? But it's interesting when someone's higher than a king and then they're still kind of like these bitchy fighting for favor stuff. So it could be Slytherin. Now, to be fair, it also could super be Gryffindor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it seems like this. It's kind of like that lie guy you talked about, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm feeling, and that's the one that's super important to me. The rest of them are cool and they're animals and stuff.
Yeah.
But the one that seems to, in a really insidious way, kind of like live in our culture today, you're not asking this, but I'm explaining it, is the lies have lived. You know what I mean? We don't know where they came from, kind of like the movie you were talking about. That guy has the most power of all of them. And he probably doesn't seem like he has the most power of all of them. And so that's sort of to me, and this is, again, dumb argument, and I'm open to it. You meet, what's his name, Robert Pattinson, or some other Gryffindor, and they're like, oh, that guy's so nice, and he's kind of like, he's such a good guy, but he has this one dark element about him, like he gossips. And it doesn't seem that bad at first, but you're like, oh, that gossipy thing kind of takes over, and since he's popular and all this other stuff, the gossip goes everywhere. So for my case, I'm going to say Gryffindor.
Well, I threw out Gryffindor and Slytherin for the very reason that, like, Gryffindor has the quality to be very, like, forward moving for, like, the larger community.
True.
But also tends to, like, leave a giant hole in their wake. So, like, they'll defeat the, warring pirate ship, but they also might sink their own ship in the process.
And a lot of people will die, but the job gets done.
But like, but then you think like, oh, but we saved the coastal city, and you're like, right, but like that doesn't, Harry, for example, is constantly like wrecking shit all over Hogwarts.
That's true.
But like, then you just justify it with like, oh, but Voldemort was thwarted.
True.
And you're like, oh, okay.
And people are like, I haven't even seen Voldemort, so are these deaths worth it? Right. That's a really good point. Harry, until the rest of the world sees Voldemort, obviously this is an obvious thing. It's like a lot of people die around him, and is it worth it?
So with all these demons, they're definitely presenting a help to man, but they're also being very divisive at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like
they're taking a lot.
Yeah,
like
being
for the
invoked
help.
against their will. So they're like, all right, we'll help you, but like the minute you turn your back,
yeah,
I'm gonna fuck some shit up.
That's so dark. That's the thing I never think about, especially in all the horror movies and especially all the horror stories. These people are like just chilling. They're in hell. What you're doing, you have your scores of people, whatever, and then against your will, you're brought up to deal with like I want to run hard. You know what I mean? I just want to run.
My girlfriend made me sad.
Yeah, and that must be the most annoying thing, and also the most. You're like, God damn it, fine, okay. And so they have these fun.
Did you do the
games.
invocation thing correctly? Okay, you did.
Yeah.
All right, shit, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
But
you're gonna pay for it later.
yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, the vengeful angle might lean it more Slytherin.
Sure.
But
I mean, look, this is look on the even with the hell thing on the surface is Slytherin. But yeah, I mean,
the whole hell thing.
Yeah, it's like you're not gonna outrun that, but at the same time, like we got a lot of people in Slytherin. We don't need all this
but we
shit.
had to play devil's advocate a little
exactly.
bit on
We
that.
don't need this.
Do we want to move away from Judeo-Christian?
Oh, I was going to.
Great. What do we have next?
All right, so we've done our angels, we've got our demons. Very exciting. And kind of like the defining. Like the definitive text for both.
We got our Dan Brown out of the way.
Yeah, our Dan Brown is out of the way.
Which you have to do every day. Get your Dan Brown out the way.
While I don't, and there's likely somebody who could correct me more on this, but as far as Taoism is concerned, so Chinese geomancy specifically, there is one text that kind of rules above all as like the like chosen apocrypha for that, and it's the Book of Earth, which was written in. God, I want to say around the Three Kingdoms period. Before that, maybe. Not really sure.
When did Matt Damon factor in?
Referencing the Great Wall.
First of all, that was an amazing movie. How
first
dare
off,
you?
it's an amazing. We saw it. Yeah,
together.
we saw it. It was incredible.
I went to that movie knowing it was going to be bad, and I remember leaving. Everybody's like, "Oh, they whitewashed this movie. It's terrible." And I remember thinking, like, it's a movie where Matt Damon plays a Spanish soldier who fights space alligators.
Yeah.
With like the Dynasty Warriors cast.
Senti or like what is it?
Like a hive mind.
A hive mind
of
alien,
sentient jade alligators.
Right. And they're doing it all for that black powder.
That black powder.
But magnets kill them.
Oh god, magnets kill them. And then a surprise guest appearance by everyone's favorite, Hades.
Wait, Hades is in there?
No, the guy who played it, I can't think of his name right.
James
off the top of my
Wood.
head. James Wood.
Oh,
a surprise guest appearance by James Wood as the like betraying monk guy, who also
No. It's Willem Dafoe.
Oh, William
It
Dafoe.
is. Thank you.
William Dafoe.
Because I was so lost. I was like, what? I must have. After credit scene must have
Sorry,
been
they're
great.
both creepy men.
Yeah, they're both creepy white men that are probably
men. Sorry, I'm sorry, William Dafoe. I know you were listening right now, and I apologize
and he's a
for
fan,
that.
He's
a fan
Wood
of the show.
is a piece of shit.
Big podcast.
Big fan of the show.
Big
What's
fan
funny
of the
is
show.
the last thing I'd seen William Dafoe in was that movie about, I think it was Antichrist.
Oh yeah,
where he
that's a
gets
big
his
jump.
nuts crushed with a log,
Yeah.
and then comes blood.
Chaos reigns.
Yeah, Chaos Reigns. It's great scene.
Sorry,
Weird
I got
movie.
us off a track. Continue.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry,
Geomancy,
talking about getting
Taoism.
your nuts crushed with the log and coming blood. That's if you really want to like take an hour and 40 minutes and just put it into something. Antichrist.
Don't help homeless people. Don't do anything else. Hour and 40 minutes.
Support
Antichrist.
Lars von Trier.
Yeah.
Let's-
He needs it.
His career.
Yeah.
He really needs it.
Yeah.
He needs that. The end is good. It's super not confusing.
That was on the poster. The end is good.
The end is good. It's super not confusing. Antichrist.
Yep.
So the Book of Earth, it's like a transmutation tome because it deals with the four elements: earth, metal, wind, and fire. and how they interplay. But the thing that's most interesting to me about the Book of Earth is that it also deals with like legions of Chinese demons and spirits and like weird,
like you do,
like bizarre Taoist apocrypha. And that includes like how to banish spirits, where spirits come from, like what they're made of and what they do and how they behave. And there's like wind spirits and swamp spirits and frog shit and like weird dolls. What happens when people die and where they go and how they can come back. Which, if you've ever played Shadow Hearts, and taking it back to the games again,
5 for 5.
5 for 5.
Yeah.
Shadow Hearts deals a lot with the Book of Earth specifically, especially the first one.
So this is just like a lexicon.
It's a lexicon, absolutely.
Of these are all the spirits, where they come from, what happens to them. Can you give us like a small breakdown of, I guess, some of the death angles that they present?
Some of the death angles? Okay, sure. So there is a part of the book that deals with what happens when a spouse dies in a coastal village. Yes, it gets that granular because
I can already say, like, right now, this is more than likely a Ravenclaw based on that, but please continue.
It gets extremely granular because at the time that this was written, remember, there's like, you have like your small villages, your small coastal villages, and then your large cities. And then there's like everything else that's wilderness.
Right.
So you could get that granular because there's only so many things to talk about before you run out of things. So when a woman dies or a spouse dies in a coastal village, if she's not given burial rights but is still committed to the sea, she can come back.
Well, that's exciting.
As?
Less defined, but it's not good.
Okay, so like
now this is actually this falls into folklore as well, because in Asian folklore this is actually a pretty recurring story where a woman is committed to the sea without being buried correctly or with some sort of like grudge style powerful rage fueling her, and when she comes back they always say that she's like changed. It never said what the change is, but you're always familiar with like the sea has changed you,
which is actually scarier.
It's scarier,
specifics, because you don't know that. If everyone's head fills with what the fuck.
Well, it's defined by like the sounds they make and the sounds that they create when they walk, which is defined as like a wet slapping sound, and
which
like
is the scariest thing in the world coming down.
Or like the rough shape of like a patch of seaweed with like human locomotion behind it. So when they come back, they drag people away, or they're going after an old spouse, but they're there to like fuck shit up until they're dealt with in the proper way.
So basically Taoism is saying like, make sure everybody gets their burial rights. Like,
well, this is like fucked up Taoism. This is like the apocryphal Taoism.
Right, but it's simply saying like, you should make sure if somebody dies, like you do right by them.
You don't do them dirty.
And because if not, they will come back as a vengeful spirit and potentially drag you into the ocean or whatever depths of the earth.
Well, a lot of Taoism deals with balance. It's how all of the elements interplay and how alchemy works. A lot of it's like, and geomancy specifically, like the magic of the land.
Right.
So it's keeping everything in balance so that the fucked up shit doesn't happen. And then all of the fucked up shit is like all the spirits and demons and like things. And like, this is what, if you don't do things in a very specific way, then there are very specific monsters that will show up and like fuck up your day.
And it just seems very one-to-one.
Yeah, it is very one-to-one.
Of just, you have wronged this person who then in turn became a spirit. So that spirit is now going to wrong you back. Yeah. And then everything is fine.
Yeah. And if you look at the way that like in ancient China or like the warring period China, people dealt with being wronged. It is a very one-to-one ratio. Generally speaking, I mean, there are obviously standard examples in all cultures, but generally speaking, if you did a bad thing, there was a very specific punishment you got for that bad thing. If you stole something, they chopped off your hand. Like, that was what it was.
Right.
Like if you attempted to betray your warlord, they killed you. And that was an expected thing. Like everybody knew what the punishment was if you did that thing and like it didn't go well for you.
What's always interesting about those is like when you think, because you hear about them, and like we have laws and shit now, and we're like we always talk like, harken back. We really wish we go back to stealing, cutting a hand off. You see this stuff on Facebook or whatever else. But it's funny is like, it didn't stop people from stealing. Like everything you're saying is so fucking simple. You're like, no. You've seen it and you've heard about it or you saw someone doing it, but human nature eventually takes over.
Yeah.
And like, it still will happen no matter what.
Well, and then there's also those weird arguments like we've seen in various Kate courses. I think it's a situation like jury can overrule the law in some cases based on certain situational evidence of like somebody stole in like, and you're like, okay, stealing is wrong. We know that you cut off the hand. And they're like, right. And they stole because of all of these reasons. And suddenly the jury like can overturn.
They put the hand back on.
They can put
the hand back on.
They can basically say like, no, in this circumstance, like we're going to not acknowledge that. And they can still like plead innocent, or they can see them as innocent despite the fact that they are very clearly guilty of the crime, but based on, and I forget the exact terminology, but that's neither here nor there. What I think is interesting is I initially said, I think that this is a Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
The more, however, that we've been discussing it, especially, and I'm like a fool for not even just being like, basic,
a foolish fool,
basic etymology, like breaking down the Latin. It's like geomancy. It's of the earth, which is nature based. And everything that we've discussed has been very fair in its one-to-one nature, which would make it a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to. What I also really like is it's called the Book of the Earth.
The Book of Earth.
Which is like the dumbest, most basic name and also the scariest, most sort of pretentious name ever. Yeah. Like at the same time. That's rare.
You can like buy it on Amazon right now. They've reprinted it like a bajillion times. And it is super dense.
Yeah.
Like incredibly fucking dense. But I read it.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah. It's the book on your coffee table that you're just like, for some light reading, everybody.
Well, right now it's the Codex Seraphinium, but it's after that I'll switch it out with something else.
Okay. What's the first thing you just said?
The Codex Seraphinium.
What is that?
Oh, that's like a fake. So it's not a real text. This like European dude who is an artist made this book, and it's like hundreds of pages long, and it's fully illustrated about like this alien plane of existence, and it's just like very strange illustrations, like horses that have like the back end of of like a termite queen, and like weird flora and fauna, and it's written in like a fake language, so you cannot read it. The only English language is on the cover and on the inside cover, and then everything else is the fake language.
So it's how my son actually sees books right now, and he's 2.
Yeah.
It's just he understands the thing on the cover. There's a bunch of shit in the middle.
There's a bunch of pictures.
And then at the end, he's like,
He's like, I don't know. That was a book.
Yeah.
I know what books
Sometimes
are
you put your finger through it, and it like
and it moves around. So that's his book.
Yeah, but
I also really love how to get the point across for people not to do stuff, whatever these parables ended up being, one of the things they would do, and it's before TV and all that shit. You're like, you see that horse or whatever it is now?
Yeah.
Just imagine half of it, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
That seems scary as hell. Just taking the stuff that people know and then just putting them together is so great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like what there's a great example from Japanese folklore, and it's the small woman in the graveyard. I don't remember what her name is. But if you looked at her back, she would kill you. She would leap onto your back and then kill you, and then the next person to see her would also get killed by her. And it was like the parable there is obviously like, don't gawk at people who are in mourning in graveyards. But the extreme nature of what would happen is like, oh yeah, no, she'll leap onto your back, drain your life force, and kill you. Yeah. It's like, shit, well, I shouldn't gawk at people who are mourning in graveyards then.
Yeah.
And it might just keep you out of graveyards in general.
Yeah, the first problem with that guy we're discussing is like, why the fuck are you in graveyards every day? Like, just don't be hanging out.
Why are you in graveyards? Why are you looking at people?
Why
are
you talking shit about people? Yeah,
especially like old women. Like, leave them alone.
Yeah, leave them alone.
Jesus, come on.
Let them mourn.
Let them mourn
do their thing
before they steal all your life away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're not necessarily sorting that one, but
no, it's just like a good example. Let's see. What's a good list to jump to? How do we like Slavic vampires?
I mean, I'm relatively unfamiliar with them, but like, let's make that dive.
So years and years ago, I was in a library in Elk Grove, California, which don't go there, drive through it.
Why do you know Elk Grove?
I was raised in Elk Grove.
I'm from Sacramento.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I grew up in Rosemont. right in South Sacramento, like in the foothills, and then went to junior high and high school in Elk Grove.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, you understand.
Yeah,
it's flat. Bighorn Road has a movie theater, and there's like a lot of Panda Expresses.
Yeah,
you get it.
It's the dream for somebody.
It's the dream. It is the dream for somebody. Is a great way of discussing Elk Grove, California. By the way, no groves, and all of the elk were eaten to death when panning for gold was a growth industry. So,
and that's the parable is don't eat your elks.
Don't eat your elks. Yeah,
because Panda Express is coming.
Because soon there'll be Panda Express.
Yeah,
the elk were destroyed by the pandas.
Yeah. And then the pandas were destroyed by orange chicken, like half off sales.
Yep.
So you're in this, you're in a library.
Yeah, so I'm in the library. And I'm looking through all these books, and I don't really know a lot about like looking for books in libraries at this point. I haven't really been to a lot of libraries.
That Dewey Decimal System.
Not the Dewey Decimal System. So I'm just looking through them, and I'm like, I wonder what's cool. And there's this little black book with like a man with a claw in on the binding. So I pull it out. And it doesn't have a title,
which is already
great. It doesn't have a title. The cover is like black velvet, and there's like an embossed picture of like the same dude with the same claw. And when I open it up, all that it says on the front page is vampires.
Oh, it's incredible.
Is it vampires with a Y?
No.
Okay.
This is vampires with an I.
Back to James Woods again.
Yeah. And all it is specifically how to summon and control Slavic vampires.
Holy shit.
With a list of what they are, what they do, and how to summon them specifically. And they're fucked in the Slavic tradition, like East European, old world tradition. Like everything is the most fucked up version of the thing you can do.
What? So, who wrote this book?
Doesn't say.
Wait, you stole the book, right? You have the book.
No, I do not have the book. I returned to the library eventually because I was like 10. So
also it was like whispering things.
Yeah, whispering shit.
Also, my mom had been killed.
Yeah, when my mom like saw it, she was like, "What is this?" No,
that's
like, sorry. But
so in Elk Grove,
I read about like babies on anthills and stuff. So
in Elk Grove, California, right now, in theory, if this library is open, there's a fucking singular book that you can summon Slavic vampires with.
Yeah.
Written by no one.
That has a cover made of velvet.
So
those in Elk Grove, California, right now, you can go to the library. Is on the corner of Elk Grove Boulevard, right by James McKee,
nice. and probably a Panda
Joseph
Express.
Middle School,
and 2 Panda Expresses.
Yeah, there is a Panda Express down the road. It should be right across from like the Tea Leaf and Coffee Bean.
Great,
and you can go inside and look for the Slavic vampire book, and it might be there.
Of all time.
What are some ways to summon and control vampires?
We actually may not want to fucking talk about this.
So,
because they may show up.
Here's my favorite one.
Okay,
I'll go into my favorite one.
Sure.
Because it's been a while. We're gonna get killed by vampires.
Killed by vampires.
So in the book, they discuss this vampire, and it's the size of a cricket. It looks like a cricket.
Oh, that's cool.
And what it does is you feed it a drop of blood every day, and by doing so, it's that gives it enough energy to be enslaved to you or be in your service.
Sure.
And you whisper into the jar the name of a person that you want to die, and then you open the jar and let it go. And within a day, it will find the person, bore through their heart, and then come back and be in the jar again.
This is like Death Note.
And if you ever don't feed it a drop of blood for even one day, it kills you. Like horrifically.
So your life deaded
to this,
who's the slave to who at that point?
To this vampire cricket monster.
How cute is it?
Not cute.
I'm going to say that's fucking cute though. Crickets are cute.
Crickets are cute. So the way that you summon this, and I swear to God, this is 100% real, is you take a newborn baby.
Okay.
Yep. You place it upside down on top of an anthill.
Now, when you say upside down, just so we're clear, it's not on its back, but on its
head.
Right.
On an anthill. So there's a living baby, which you've placed on an anthill.
Okay.
And then you leave it for 3 days.
So you murder a baby.
Yes.
But then you get
when you come
cricket.
back.
Yeah.
There should be a fleck of flesh inside of what was left of the baby. And when you pick it up, you put it in a jar, put a drop of your own blood in it, and then within a week, it will become the cricket. You just keep watching it until it becomes the cricket.
That is weird.
It seems
Yes.
a lot of work too.
It's a lot of work. You gotta get a baby.
Yeah,
you gotta
because
find
like,
an anthill.
think about it. You got to find the person to have the baby with, date them for a while. That's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Have the first baby you're going to kill for this cricket.
Yeah. Then you have to find a suitable anthill that's also away from people who could like stumble upon it
For
and save
3
the
days,
baby.
yeah.
Does it specify the type of ants?
No, but I would go with something like fire ants.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm assuming. So like you can't get your run of the mill.
Yeah, not that I've thought
city
about
ants.
this at all. But
You need the crystal. You need the crystal skull ants.
yeah,
Yeah.
you need the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Although they would go too fast almost.
They also laddered up.
Yeah,
That was
But
a pretty impressive
if it goes
trip.
quicker than 3 days, like because you're gone, right? So it almost doesn't matter.
yeah.
If they kill the baby,
Look,
in,
the text is 3 days. So
that's
all
what I'm saying.
need is
But you
come
just
back.
you need to be gone for 3 days. The ants can kill it in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then you come back and it's like, oh, there's my speck of vampire flesh. And now I have it, and it's fine. It's mine.
Put it in the jar in the blood.
yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah.
That's
That's by far the best thing we've talked about.
That is 100% real Slavic myth. That is fucking real.
I like 100% myth.
Myth, yeah.
Is-
100% real myth.
Yeah, 100% real myth from
Uh,
another country translated.
I mean,
Like they're selling you a used car. 100% real myth.
Real myth.
lordy, and this is only part of this book.
Yeah.
So
This is the part I remember from like 19 years ago.
So it's tough for me to go, all right, we're definitively sorting Slavic
so
myth.
just take it. The whole book of the Slavic vampires is just like, here's a fucked up way to summon a vampire. Here's the fucked up shit it'll do to your enemies or
Right.
for you. And if you don't do the like one maintenance thing, it kills you violently.
To be fair, the maintenance thing on this compared to all the other stuff we've talked about seems real easy.
It's real easy.
Like
Real easy.
you know
It's
what I
like
mean?
feeding it like I think one of them was like feeding it a specific kind of vegetable every day.
Yeah, that seems super easy.
yeah, I mean, that's even less work than Audrey 2 was.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the like if you don't side of it makes me go back to the demon list that we were dealing with.
Mhm.
So that there's the part of me that also because you're also working with this vampire for personal gain,
Yeah.
which does kind of
it's more like your oh god, well, not slave. Your buddy, your pal, your worker.
I mean, there's a sense of servitude that this thing
There's
has.
it's your servant.
Right, but a servant that can and will kill you.
Yes.
It's-
Absolutely.
It's a not quite symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Because in the case that you don't keep up your end, you die.
Yeah.
But it still does have a personal gain angle, which does make me lean a little bit more towards Slytherin. Are you willing to take ownership of this one, Ryan?
It's cool. So I am more than happy to do this because, to be fair, yeah, it's a slave thing,
Mhm.
but obviously that we're just going back to that cute cricket,
Yeah.
that murders fuckers. That seems like it's what it wants to do. You know what I mean? Like that cricket's not
It's at its
tripping.
happiest when it
Yeah, no,
bores, when it bores into people's hearts and drinks the blood out of your
yeah,
finger.
you're like, hey man, just go do a thing. And he's like, all right. The crazy part is the GPS and stuff this cricket has.
Yeah.
Like he's like, okay, you're mad at Emily, let's go.
Right, because this sort of is reminding me because I'm finally watching all of Game of Thrones, even though I've like read it. But
Yeah.
the faceless man sort of angle
Yeah,
of
a little
like
bit.
say the name and like we'll do it, or like you said, Death Note,
Yeah.
like the cosmos will just like find a way to make that.
Yeah.
Which actually kind of, if you talk about it that way, and I'm happy to take this, I'm happy. Slytherin can have this one. This is exciting. But when you're talking about that, it's kind of that one-to-one thing. Like the cosmos watching out for you. There's a cause and effect. We're learning. It's like for every, sure, you get to kill a bunch of stuff, but you always have to give up some of yourself. So there's some fairness there too. Just to think
a little
about it.
bit. Yeah, I don't fully see it going Hufflepuff just because.
No. But
it's vampires.
No, but hold on.
Yeah.
Just for the fuck of it.
Right.
Again, dumb. It's super easy. Like literally, this is the easiest thing in the world. Like everything you talked about, this is like.
Well, no, the easiest would be like, hey, I do whatever the summoning is, which is also like super easy, and then it's just like, oh, hey, by the way, could
that's
you
true.
kill that?
You're-
And then
you're killing a baby.
There are a
That's a
few
good
more
point.
steps.
No,
like,
yeah, killing.
getting
I'm
the
an
baby.
idiot.
You
Yeah,
were
that's
spending
tough.
a while.
Yeah, you got to
on
get
that.
the baby.
Yeah.
You got to find the anthill. You got to
Yeah.
make sure nobody finds
Okay,
it.
I
And
take
I'm
it
sure
back.
that
You're
there's a
right.
lot more of these that are like, you got to get a goat. The goat needs to be skinned
Sure.
and like
Yeah.
soaked in oil, and the oil needs to be from this specific realm.
The hardest
yeah.
part about being a Satanist or something
Yeah.
has to be this amount of work.
Oh.
Because think about like we go out there and like if you have 2 errands in LA, it sucks. Like
Yeah.
you go have to drive some places, do some stuff. Being a Satanist, real hard.
Yeah. Well, it's not even. It's funny. It's not even like really Satanism.
No.
It's just
no, of course. I'm going to like the people that would have to do this a lot. You have to do a bunch of, or a witch or whatever you're going to do.
A witch specifically. Yeah. If you're a witch, this sucks. Yeah. Like your life is so lame.
It's a lot of work.
I gotta get witch hazel and then some like acorns from like an old tree. It has to be more than 200 years old. This fucking sucks.
And who can even tell what an old tree looks like?
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to chop down the tree,
and then you
count the rings, and then you go, well, now I just killed that tree, so I guess I just have to hold on to all these acorns.
Or you just put the hand back on.
Do want a shifting from Slavic to maybe Babylonian or Mesopotamian?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
because you did mention those to me.
Yeah,
as
Babylonian,
options.
Mesopotamian, which they're like quasi connected, but
a
lot of them comes down into like Tiamat and Mormo specifically. Tiamat being the mother of all dragons. It's in like literally every Final Fantasy game. Boom, there's another one for you.
6.
And Dragon Quest is also in there. Really, any game that has dragons in it has a Tiamat somewhere. Because Tiamat is a really cool name for a dragon, I guess. Tiamat is the mother of all dragons and mother of all monsters. But more importantly, her place in the Mesopotamian Babylonian pantheon is kind of strange because also she's like the cosmic egg from which all things were born. So the heroes of Mesopotamian myth were all born from her. So when they move against her and her like legions of monsters, they like strike her. They strike down their own parent and then destroy all of their siblings. And that's like really like it's funny that like Mesopotamian specifically mythology would incorporate so much like fratricide.
Yeah, I mean, but didn't they also have like they had like some ceremony on a ziggurat where you'd have to sacrifice people to the god?
Oh no!
Like, so
they
loved they're big on their
shit.
murder.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Well, I
them
mean,
just
like-
being like, "Don't kill your brother" is even.
Well, I mean, like, so Mesopotamia also had the city of Nineveh, which is where Jonah met the whale. The whale is, in the biblical sense, a whale.
Right.
In the Mesopotamian Babylonian sense, it is everybody's favorite Twitter meme, Dagon, who is because every god is like also the god of death. So Dagon was a ocean god that was like a god of bounty and a god of life and a god of birth and rebirth, because that's where it's the ocean. We all come from the ocean. We all go back to the ocean, but also a god of death because all the gods are also death. Because in Mesopotamia, if you like stub your toe too hard, you died of acute toe stubbing at like 15. That's just how you died because there's no like antibiotics. Which always fun to think about. Stub your toe too hard, die in ancient Mesopotamia.
As you know, the toe bone is connected to the life bone.
But to get back to Tiamat, like, it's interesting that like there's a lot of familial backstabbery in those myths, because like Tiamat's husband and sisters are murdered, but Tiamat was like also before them. It's like before them, but at the same time as them, gives birth to like all like Middle Eastern monsters. Like all Middle Eastern monsters come from Tiamat. The ones who were not slain in the Wars of Succession are like the ones that are still in the myths today. And then there's like the heroes, many of whom were killed in those wars. And then like there's the heroes who survived and they remain in the myths today.
There's so much to unpack on that.
Yeah.
Well, like all of these, it's funny. It's like we're getting a top line and it's all insane.
Yeah, it's all insane. I guess perhaps it's as soon as you're like, oh, hey, here's this thing that's kind of like the birther of everything.
Yeah.
Also, like all parts of so many like cultural iconography like leaks out of this, because we're dealing with like not like just at the cusp of like written histories.
Babylonian Mesopotamia had the first written languages, and they were like symbols.
Are these on like cuneiform tablet sort of situations? Holy shit.
It's not even cuneiform tablets. It's like rough. So the Mesopotamian script specifically, and I've looked into this very, very much from multiple projects. It's it's like Egyptian symbols. So it's like, cow, grain, star, circle.
Oh, so we haven't even developed like the wedge.
No,
like cuneiform's like not there yet.
No,
it's
this
still
is like pre
pictograph.
that. Yeah, it's petrograph. So
or petrographs, yes.
Yeah, and like petrograph storytelling, where it's like, and like when you look at the word wall at the middle part of Skyrim, when it's like, oh, it's a word wall, it's dragons and shit. There's another one right there. Boom. Like, yeah, video games borrowed a lot.
Yeah.
But it would be like, here's the, up at the top of the mural is like the mother dragon thing, and here's like a hero fighting it, and like legions of fucking monsters on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a short description underneath it, which is just made up of like symbol runes. And that's how they wrote all these down. So that's how we have those stories and texts today.
There's a part of me that wants to say that this is a Gryffindor.
Me too. I mean, I'm focusing basically on the mother of everything.
Yeah. Right.
I think this is important. There's a part of this that's also heavily referenced in Decay, because when Tiamat is killed, that's literally like, that's the egg from which all things were born.
Mm-hmm.
With Tiamat dead, no new things get to be born.
If we're to compare it to Judeo-Christian, it might be like the expulsion from Eden.
The expulsion from Eden, exactly. Like no new things are created. Now it's like you deal with what you've got.
Right.
And that's it. I'm God. Peace. Flaming Aleph. Out. Pew pew. That's what he said. That's Eden 3:16.
I feel comfortable in still saying that it's a Gryffindor. I think that going off of just like mother of all.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. There's like a lot coming from there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the mother of all something, Gryffindor is kind of the mother of all houses.
Yeah, the mother of all houses.
Mm-hmm.
The Griffin.
Well, that's when they did the Animal House version of Harry Potter. It was the mother of all houses. It's Gryffindor. When they did it in the 80s.
Gryffindor?
Yeah, Gryffindor, exactly, every time.
Is there anything across the globe that we still want to touch on as far as Apocrypha goes? Are there any like...
We could go Oceania. They're always fun.
All right, let's do Oceania and let's...
That'll be the last one?
Yeah.
Is that the one you want to do? Okay, so I've always really appreciated Oceanic myth because it's so weird. So you have...
What is the origin of that even?
Oceania is like all of the different islands in the Pacific and Atlantic.
Great.
Like the small islands.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about like, I mean, Filipino folklore is different in that it has like its own kind of flavor, but all of the islands have their own flavor. So this is also like Hawaii,
Moana.
Cuba, Haiti, Dominica, all of these different like small Phoenix Islands,
Gotcha.
all of these small islands, and then also boat people. So the cultures of like ocean-born travelers who like lived on big raft cities and like moved around catching fish, which is they're still around today, although there aren't as many anymore.
So this is a little more, I guess, less geographic and more like
cultural.
Yeah, more cultural.
Yeah. So when you're looking at it, you can subdivide it into a few different things. There's the gods. The gods are very, very sexual.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are sexual. A lot of the god myths involve getting STIs, and that is not. They involve partying, having kids, and getting STIs.
Now, is this a situation where, like Greco-Roman mythology, these gods can transform and things like that?
They can transform.
And do they have sex with mortals?
Yes.
And is it the mortals who are getting the STIs or
who's
the
the
gods?
gods are getting the STIs?
Oh, because that makes sense.
Because gods get the STIs.
Because mortals are disgusting.
There are. If I had a nickel for every time I read about an oceanic god getting a leaky red penis, I would be like, I would have so many nickels. Several nickels.
You could maybe buy an ice cream in like the 20s.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, how many nickels? Like 10?
This is like 10 nickels.
That's 50 cents.
That's
pretty
50
good.
cents. I could go to a little claw game and maybe win something. Maybe. I don't know. Dave and Buster's. That's
D&B's.
D&B's.
Yeah, at least we got there today.
Right. Yeah. That's another one for you. Dave and Buster's. Yep. Tying into that oceanic mythology.
That is the first and last time that's ever happened.
Oceanic penis mythology. Yep. So the gods are very humanistic in nature. They're partying hard. They're having a lot of sex. They're birthing a ton of kids who all do the same shit. And they get STIs, and it's important because the gods get negative traits from humanity specifically, or by interacting with humanity specifically. Then you can subdivide further into the kind of spirits and monsters. Now, they're the spirits and monsters from things that do not have voodoo, from cultures that do not have voodoo, and then the Loa spirits from cultures that have like African influences in them.
Mm-hmm.
So the Loa came later because that was when the slave trade started and the French were like bringing slaves to the islands.
Mm-hmm.
Pre voodoo and like Catholic influence is all like ocean spirits,
Mm-hmm.
like shark, and they literally, it's like shark, fish, whale. They all have names that correspond to what they actually are. And then there's crazier ones like the Yurlunger, which is like an oceanic twin-headed rainbow sea snake that lives in a cave at the bottom of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And like when it surfaces, like there's rainbows, but also it eats people. So,
but you get rainbows.
Yeah, but you get rainbows.
Yeah,
click.
Yeah. As long as you're not around.
Well, the whole vibe of that mythology is like, it's very give and take. Like the ocean gives all of these bounties,
Mm-hmm.
but also like they very much knew that at any time the ocean could turn,
Right.
and it could wipe out everything.
Yeah.
The ocean, like Mother Nature,
Yeah.
cruel mistress.
Yeah, so all the spirits are the same thing. Like shark is a powerful hunter, and like if he chooses to help you, he can help you have a great hunt, or he eats you.
Yeah.
Like whale, same thing. Like very wise, knows a lot, but could also like crush your boat or like
Mhm.
blow you out of the water into the middle of the ocean, or like drag you under to your death.
And these weren't necessarily just looping back on just
Yeah.
our larger theme. So these weren't necessarily linked to any religion at the time. They were just sort of culturally kicked around.
Yeah, they were culturally kicked around the islands.
And so then I'm just thinking from a trader perspective, not trader.
Trader, yeah.
You're encountering these sorts of things, and then does that sort of cultural introductions of like
Yes.
new products, like
So it's funny that
it
like
spin cycles a little
because
more?
like as the islands began to trade with one another and the cultures began to expand, you would see like intermingling of the mythologies here and there.
Right.
Which, I mean, obviously the biggest version of that is when the slave trade hit the islands.
Right. And that was what kind of
suddenly,
got me
yeah.
thinking on that.
And so you have your Catholic influences and your like African ancestor spirit influences, which kind of like morphed into our current understanding of voodoo, and like Loa spirits, which are like, giant skulls and Baron Samedi, a lot of death stuff. Baron Samedi specifically is like the Haitian voodoo version of the Grim Reaper. And he like wears a nice suit and has a hat, and he's like very genteel, but also he's like super evil and will kill you.
Mhm.
So, and the Loa spirits, they're essentially like a really fucked up version of Japanese like nature spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Japanese nature spirits are in the rocks and the trees and in the sky and the water and everything, and they have their own there's their own hierarchy there. The Loa spirits are like almost all malignant, and then your ancestor spirits are the ones that protect you from the Loa.
Gotcha.
Which is the most Harry Potter thing we've talked about today.
Yeah,
So Loa in general, very bad.
generally pretty bad.
Familial spirits gonna be good because they're humans, which is interesting because humans, when interacting with gods, bad for gods.
Bad for gods,
I love
great
that
for
part.
spirits.
Great for But and where do Loa spirits come from?
They're like loose energy. They're like they're spirits that are not anchored to a single place, that grow vengeful of living energy.
They're the result of the gods and the humans fucking.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
But I like your version.
But
I
your
like
version-
it. No,
your
your
version is
simplified
good. Let's
version
just
is
say
really
that.
good.
Let's just say that
Yeah.
one.
And
I'm sure I'm sure there are experts out there who could like correct me on like the.
I mean, we're
specific
doing a
individ- yeah.
very fast and loose run through a
No,
lot of
this-
but, like, this
Apocrypha.
This is the most
roughly
definitive.
right.
This is the most definitive conversation that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, don't read any more because
Don't read anymore. Don't look into it further.
Yeah.
I'm right.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Thank
Super
you.
right.
Where do we feel? Well, should we start sorting right now, or is there more information that you can immediately throw that's going to like hard left us or hard right us in a direction?
Well, I mean, it ties all back into Catholicism.
Okay.
Because Haitian voodoo is the meeting of oceanic mythology with African ancestor worship and what we would traditionally consider voodoo, with the Catholic apocryphal hierarchy and like ritual worship, and the French, who were at the time were doing like all sorts of weird Knights Templar shit.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where Santeria was born.
That Sublime song?
Yes, the Sublime song specifically.
Give us a little on that.
I ain't got no Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. And if I had $1 million, I'd spend it all.
I'd probably spend it all. Yeah.
No, it's the actual like what that is.
Santeria is it's a very ritualistic and super dark marriage of voodoo and Catholicism that involves a lot of like organ harvesting and like ritual sacrifice and altar stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like kind of briefly touched upon in True Detective. Boom, there's another one for you.
Yep. And it's kind of, and there's a little bit of, in any sort, even like Live and Let Die, like any sort of like voodoo stuff that has kind of made it, like Prince of Darkness has made it into a film or something. Kind of,
it's more Santeria than voodoo.
Yeah,
right. That's what I was realizing. Like, all those times that they're referencing voodoo, it's
Santeria.
No, it's not really that.
Yeah. It's not really voodoo.
It's the fringe of
but voodoo is it's cooler to call it voodoo.
It's cooler to call it voodoo than Santeria because nobody knows what the fuck Santeria is. When you're like voodoo, you're like, ooh, scary black people. Yeah. Straight up.
And terrifying organ harvesting and all that.
It's really like voodoo in Africa where like voodoo was like, or vodo was kind of like created. It's just another form of like local mythologies that are born from whatever the culture was doing at the time. It's like deeply indicative of the kind of culture that it was. And voodoo was just like, oh, you invoke the names of your ancestors to like bless you and protect you from spirits, which are fucking around doing like the spirits are doing all the bad shit that like we don't really understand, and they're making the animals act crazy, or they're giving us bad weather. So you invoke the ancestors and they protect you and your village. And then also there are some warlords who do some weird pattery shit to make like human zombies, and that's I guess also in there. But there's fucked up shit in all of the different ones.
Right.
However, for a Western audience, voodoo is scary because, black people.
Yeah, because it's this scary version of black people.
Yeah.
And we have to deal with all our guilt that our country's made.
And on that regard, but the voodoo itself then leaks into the oceanic culture.
Yeah.
And
which marries with Catholicism, which turns like it's literally like the ritualistic nature of Catholicism meeting the very jubilant sort of celebratory nature of the oceanic culture, and then voodoo, which is like very ancestor worshipy, and they all like coalesce together in this weird clump, and it turns into this like extremely fucked up version of itself. Really, the Catholicism fucked it up the most.
I have a feeling that it's very fear-based.
It is very fear-based. Absolutely.
Like I just the combination of like death, the Catholicism of like you should fear
it's
God,
hexes and stuff,
and then nature. It's just going to be like, oh, all the things of like they could help you, but they could kill you. Now just becomes mostly like 9 times out of 10 they're gonna kill you, but like there's that one time that like the shark or the whale is gonna like impart wisdom on you or help you in a hunt.
Yeah. Really, the Oceania was like 50-50 for the most part, because like it's generally it's fine, and then sometimes it's not fine.
Yeah,
but it's
and
like,
you need an answer.
And then other cultures,
you can fuck with the ocean if you want, but at any point,
okay,
so fuck you up.
So then sorting pre voodoo Catholicism collision with oceanic.
So pre-influence Oceania,
probably seems Hufflepuff.
Very Hufflepuffy.
But voodoo is Gryffindor.
Oh yeah, you think so?
Invoke your ancestors to help you.
That's true.
No, that's sort of, it's like the clearest thing ever, and it's like from what we know, because we only know so much of this universe that's Harry Potter. That's like the biggest thing that runs through.
And I suppose like even when there is fear, you do need that like you got to hold on to your family. You got to charge forward.
When we slap our Gryffindor voodoo, our Hufflepuff Oceania, and our Ravenclaw Catholicism together, what do you get with like island magic after that? What's the finished product?
Is it Slytherin?
I think it is Slytherin.
Yeah, it's the beauty of Slytherin. Yeah, Moana is Slytherin. It's good to know.
You heard it here first,
Yeah, you
folks.
heard it here
Moana
first.
is Slytherin.
Yeah.
Disney's Moana, the Slytherin,
Yeah.
song and dance.
Yeah.
And with that said, I would like to thank Jared Rosen for coming on and helping us encounter so much Apocrypha in a like bullet train fashion.
Yeah, no problem.
It was mind-numbing and incredible.
Where can we find more of you first and foremost?
You can find me on Twitter at Not Quite Frodo, or you can check me out. You can see my writing in League of Legends. You can play Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, which is out now. I don't even know when the release date is, but sometime this or next year will be The Tingler, which you can read. You can read my work in Dread Zone, and you can see my short stories on Medium or in lots of different collections.
Yeah, you're all over the interwebs and beyond.
I am everywhere.
Ryan Finnerty, I would like to thank you for coming on as our guest co-host.
Thank you for having me.
We can find you at RP Finnerty on Twitter, correct? Yeah. Any other places that we should search you out?
You can see movies I've done. You can see sketches I've written. You can just you can find me somewhere.
Yeah, if you search Ryan Finnerty
on
the interwebs.
The stuff that comes up is either me or a hockey coach. I'm not the hockey coach.
Right.
Yeah.
And if people are more interested in Apocrypha related stuff, can you give them a reading list?
Yeah, you can just hit me up on Twitter.
Okay.
And I will.
Dude,
I will
please,
literally
everyone
give you,
do that. That's incredible.
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter, and I will give you the world. I mean, if you want to follow up on the Catholic hierarchy, you can literally just search it online. Super easy to find, and there will be different versions with different definitions of everything, but the names are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Ars Goetia, if you want to follow up on the Goetians. Book of Earth is available pretty much everywhere. You can just buy one on Amazon. If you want like the Crib Notes version, I'm sure that exists too, or you can go to Wikipedia. For Voodoo specifically, you can buy the Encyclopedia of Voodoo. It's a 2-volume set, super huge, but like it's pretty good. It will tell you everything that you really need. For Slavic mythology,
you need to go to that one
You
library.
need to go to the one library in Elk Grove, on the corner of Elk Grove and Florin Road.
By the Panda Express.
And nearby the Panda Express, across from the Tea Leaf, and one corner away from Joseph Kerr Middle School, and find the black-bound velvet book with no title that was written by no one.
Yep. Please, somebody go get that and invoke the cricket.
We'd also absolutely love for reviews on Apple Podcasts or Google Play, wherever you've been listening to that, because those reviews and ratings help bump us up on the charts. You can follow me at Belated Media. I've been Michael Barryte, helping you sort. Thanks again, everybody. We're going to go form a weird circle of leaves in the backyard and try to summon Christ or something.
I'm so ready.
Yep. Crickets.
But